The more you try to keep me down and keep my head above the water, you can never hold me down. The more you try to block me out, that's where I kick the wall down. You can never hold me back. The more you try to put me out, the more I'll be blazing, it's too hot. The more you try to put me in the dirt, increase my work, the expert. You see the hunger in the eyes of a survivor. Swallowed my pride, washed down with some saliva. Reinvented my whole life, mental MacGyver. One door shut, another open up wider. Listen, battle drums in the distance, moving with enough force like army tank pistons. Pray for the strength of Jah to fight resistance. Fight mode, shields up, moving with resilience.
With the strength of 1,000 lion and the strength of 1,000 giant, please stay strong. Please stay strong. With the strength of 1,000 elephant and the strength of 1,000 tiger, we stay strong. We stay strong.
Hey everybody, it's Casey with Pinecase, and tonight I'm hanging out with Terence from All Was Lost. What's good? Listen, I have honestly been anticipating this for a year. I don't know what everybody else has been doing, but we hung out, I guess, right around Decimate Metal Fest.
This time last year, wasn't it? Something like that, close?
Yeah, I feel like it was this time last year, and I think we tried like 3 times to get this going. You had a ton of really great information, and you were super patient with us while we ran through all sorts of tech difficulties and whatnot. Everyone came and left and hung out again, so I was really, really stoked to get you back in the calendar and hang out with you for a little while. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Of course, I remember that now. Yeah, there was like came off, and then people like came back on. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's like a testament to your following, really, because I mean, it's already a challenging world out there. There's a ton of competition. Edmonton specifically actually has a pretty solid music scene, but you guys definitely stick out amongst a crowd easily. Like I can pick you out of anywhere, and it's the same presence like live that you guys hold in your music videos, that you guys seem to like portray in your reels, and all the interactions that you guys have on social media. It's really authentic and casual and inviting and relatable. And I'm super excited to be able to hang out with somebody who's real. Like, where does that come from? Because a lot of times when people,
where does it come from?
Well, because here's the thing. Listen,
I'm human. That's where it comes from.
Right. But usually when people get like on stage and stuff, it's like something else kicks in, and it's like, I don't know, when it kicks in, you got all this energy, but it's like, listen, I was watching you guys do a music video, and you were like in a living room, and I was like, I know that living room. I've been in that space. I've felt that way. Like, yeah, it's a challenging thing to portray that much honesty and transparency.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Closure, probably. The empty house. It was funny, like Brett's parents, his drummer at the time, like had access to like this empty house, and I wanted to do this video concept where it's like walking in a door, but it's empty the whole time, and there's a lot of emotion and anger and aggression, and you're kind of like screaming back at yourself in a mirror and in an empty hallway, and then at the end of it, like you kind of walk out the door and close it. And it was the first music video we ever did. It was the first one I ever wrote a script for. Yeah.
Wow, that's wild. That's your first music video? Are you kidding me? You guys came out swinging. Like, yeah,
that's the first music video All Was Lost ever put out. And unless you count the like on the road pieced together by the band music video done by Riot in Paradise, which I don't know that I do, way back in like 2013, that would be my first music video too.
That's well done.
Professional music video, yeah.
Yeah, that's wicked. Yeah, I guess like me and you guys kind of set the bar high. Like that's a pretty massive thing. And even now, like when you came, you sent me Speaking in the Rain maybe a little bit before or whatever, and I was like listening to it, and I'm like, man, I know, just kidding. But we all caught it on YouTube because when you guys dropped it, it made a splash, and people really related to that song. Like, yeah. You want to tell us a little bit about where the story came from?
Yeah, so actually way before I was even in All Was Lost, I was talking back and forth with a friend of mine about starting a band. Like, so I'd been in school for a while. He knew I was a vocalist. I knew he had been in some bands that hadn't really gone anywhere. We'd always kind of wanted to do something musically. We'd been friends for years. Just an absolute gem of a human. Honestly, you would have never known he was in the place he was in. But me and him talked back and forth, really heavily for like 3 days about starting a band and starting one that was like all the emotion and all the real things that we wanted to say and that we realized as adults now are important to put in, lyrics and messages and connect with people about. And with some of the heaviest music and some of the most like emotional music. And it's really funny because that's what All Was Lost actually plays. But at the time, All Was Lost didn't even exist. That's
Right.
what me and my friend Levi talked about starting together.
Wow.
And then like 4 days later, he hung himself. So I was driving with my buddy Mitch up to the wake in like complete awe, just like a Robin Williams situation in a way where you would have just never known. Like,
Yeah.
the dude was like always smiling. That's why, when people say like check in on your friends who are happy, check in on your friends who are always smiling, do it. Because that's what like Levi was. He was always smiling. And yeah, like he had down days like anyone, and he would share some stuff, but it was never, you would have never known this is where he was at. Like, I think probably 80% of people who knew him would probably agree with me from what I've talked to and that might be a stretch because I don't know everybody he knew, but I
Right.
know a lot of people who knew him, and all of them are like, yeah, that came out of nowhere.
It's
And
wild. That's wild. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's actually
yeah,
wild that you're saying that because right before we jumped on, actually, I had this weird moment where I was like, shit, I got to remember to make a post later that's just like check in on everybody. Like if you feel like if you're thinking of your grandpa, like call your grandpa. Like if you're thinking of somebody, like just check in on them because you don't know. I'm really sorry for your loss.
thanks. Yeah, so I don't know, I've lost a lot of people over the years, and like this one was pretty heavy just because of like kind of the person he was and how we were talking like 4 days before. And I held a lot of guilt for some time about like had I just checked in. And on the way to the wake, actually, I started writing a poem because writing is how I process difficult stuff a lot of the time. And I started writing lyrics, a poem, a message, words I never got to say that I wished I could have said to him. It was almost like I was trying to speak to him, even though I couldn't anymore, on the drive up. And I titled the poem Leviathan. And the reason I titled it Leviathan is because the Leviathan is like a creature, like a being, is said to be like alone, in isolation, living at the deepest, darkest depths of the world, in the ocean. But also like when their presence comes forward, it brings forward a storm. And Levi's name is in Leviathan, and it just seemed to fit for me. And that's where some of the like I'll be honest, it started out as just a poem, one single poem, one single thing that I was writing to him that I wished I could have said. And I made a promise to him actually that day when I went and the spread was out and everybody was saying their stuff in silence or out loud. And I stood there and I silently promised him, I was like, everything we talked about doing, I'm going to do. But one day, I'm going to do it with a song that raises awareness around this and that honors you. And that's what Leviathan was supposed to be. And then it kind of, in different stages of the band, even when I was in Sionis, actually, like Caleb and I had a song called Leviathan. That was probably the first place I tried to put it. Like I've been trying to get this message out for a long time. When I joined All Was Lost, I think I said it last time on our video or whatever, it was like there was already an album and a concept kind of in place, and then I just kind of got to run with some of the writing, and Jeremy had done some of the lyrics too, so we worked together on some of the songs. But Restructure is very much about like rebuilding after everything in your life that you felt was supposed to happen kind of just falls apart, and you're left with both confusion but also a blank slate and yourself, and restructuring who you are and what you're meant to be. That's what that record's about. And I wrote that actually at the end of my separation, one of the hardest times in my life, with kids involved. It was pretty brutal, but I won't get into detail with that. What I will get into is that after that, I always had a goal of either doing like a full record with Leviathan mentioned on it, or where like it was like oceanic themed and about mental health. And I actually still have like a crap ton of songs lyrically written for a concept of like mental health that's oceanic themed.
Wow.
Well, like the ocean is like beautiful but also dark. It's like dangerous but also, gives us life. Like, and there's so many metaphors that I have played with within that have to do with mental health and trauma and healing. But this particular, so the old lineup, we were going to do two wolves concept around like the one you feed, and I really wanted to do that. But then when these new members kind of joined this last time around, like Cody and Taryn, and AJ, uh, and Nathan, we were all kind of like, maybe it's not time for that like heavy record, that just punches people. Maybe it's time for that emotional record. Maybe it's time for that one that like we've been kind of sitting on for a while and I've been trying to find a way to get out. Because Cody writes really kind of melodic and pretty emotional metalcore music a lot of the time.
Mhm.
And so Speaking in the Rain was his first song that he was like, I want to bring this. And he just wrote it and is like, that fits so well. And what I ended up doing was taking what the concept of Leviathan was and turning it into a concept record. So the first intro song is like basically a call out to everybody who's lost somebody. It's called One More Day. And then the next song on the record, it's actually about the initial loss, and there's like lyrics in it about kind of that day of like attending, funeral and wake, and the shock and wishing I could have said things. And then there's a song called Speaking in the Rain, which came out. And what that is it's very much like that metaphor of the Leviathan with the storm. But the rain is more of a symbol of like when things get hard in my life or when things are particularly hard around me, I am reminded of the things that he never got to say. And that's what I mean by speaking in the rain, speaking in the storm. It's like I still hear that message often. And I'm reminded even in my darkest days when I've flirted with ideas that it's like not the answer, and so that's what Speaking in the Rain is largely about. And then the next song is actually going to be kind of one that's more about just like how we as a world sort of eat ourselves alive and eat each other alive, like the metaphor of like shark and kind of like, circling your prey, but your prey is kind of yourself and the people around you. The last lyrics in the song are something like, we bite into our flesh and watch our world waste away. But the whole thing is like, it's like around that metaphor. So the idea there, if you listen to the lyrics in Speaking in the Rain, there's a line that says like buried in a crimson sea.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
So the Crimson Sea piece is talked about more in the ocean where we're all sharks eating each other alive, essentially. And eating ourselves alive. And so that comes after Speaking in the Rain. And then the end song on the record will be actually titled Leviathan. And it's a reflection song of like 5 years later, kind of like a ballad song, an emotional song. So that's the concept right now for the EP. And it's called More in the Storm.
Yeah.
So
it's
that's why
beautiful.
the tour announcement we did today is called More in the Storm While It's Warm. Because I was like, we're going when it's warm, boys. I don't know. I wanted something catchy.
No, I love it. I think it's fantastic. I honestly think that all like the play on words and weather and like all of that stuff really drives it home for us consumers, right? We're like, I understand that feeling. When I seen the name of it, I was just like, that is hilarious, because it's a very serious topic. It's obviously a ton of emotion. It's a ton of like transparency. You really have to be vulnerable and put yourself out there, but to like sit back and have a little bit of a laugh with it and be like, okay, we're just dudes, we're just regular peeps, like just doing this is such a great thing. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, you definitely captured that feeling though, especially with Speaking in the Rain. Like when that song came out, I distinctly remember standing like graveside, like, not to be too personal, but just like, standing there, it's like raining. Everyone's had that moment, whether it's metaphorically or not. And it's just like, you just want to finish that conversation. You just want to have that opportunity. And you want it so hard that it's tangible. And all of a sudden you're like, you can hear them speaking back to you and you capture that in that. And it's funny because I was like, yeah, man, it's so weird. I was going to make this post. It's like, shallow as that sounds, like about, reaching out to people. But like, obviously that's what I wanted to do. I've been listening to that cut all day long. Like, of course, that's what was on my mind. You know what I mean? So I don't even know why I thought like that would be strange. Of course, that's what it is, because it's exactly what that's about. And it's about like making sure that, you know, we touch base with people. So you guys have done a fantastic job, like a fantastic job with it. I think it's great.
I appreciate that. It's intimidating from like a lyrical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And also like, I don't know, in my day job, like I'm also a social worker. Like I work with a lot of trauma. I've had my own personal experiences. I've been around a lot. And I know that everybody deals with loss differently. And I know that there's no proper way to grieve. And I also know that trying to capture something as universal as loss and grief in a song, you don't want people to feel left out. No. You don't want people to feel like their experiences are minimized. You don't want to start telling people how to feel. And so I had to keep all of that in mind while trying to write about my personal feelings and experience, but also make it relatable and healing and connecting, hopefully impactful for other people when they listen to it. So the fact that it did do that actually means the world to hear. So thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I also think that it runs like practical with just like the way that All Was Lost has named songs. Like, you know, there's nothing really confusing or like, you know, I don't feel like I have to like dig too deep in my mind to get there. And even with the lyrics, like a lot of them are very like, obviously your execution of them is extremely complicated and talented, and we can get into that in a second, but the lyrics themselves, like they lend themselves to be applied to so many different situations that we've gone through, whether it is like, you know, loss or divorce, I guess is still loss, or, you know, celebratory when you're kind of getting through that part of your grief and trauma or whatever. And so like when I was going through the catalog, I was like, okay, well that makes sense. Like I'm just gonna click on this, like this title makes sense. This is super simple. And then you get into it and you're like, okay, hold on a second. Like not only is this super relatable, but it's the execution of it that makes it so special. And I feel, I mean, this is obviously my personal opinion, but I feel like that's probably why, you know, it's so universal to everybody, because there's nothing really, you know, super confusing about what you're saying. Like, okay, that makes sense. But
well, and you have to make sure the certain moments, like, you know, moments that are more about anger and pain, like I'm screaming those, and moments that are a little more laid back and emotional, like, you know, I wrote that chorus. Actually, I don't always write all the choruses, but I wrote that chorus, and I was really happy with it. Originally, I wasn't even going to be the one to sing on any of the songs on the record. And then I just sung that one and it just kind of worked. So we kept it. But for me, music is healing. It always has been. And I know it was healing for Levi. I know it's healing for almost every musician I know, actually, to some degree. And it's powerful, actually. There's amazing research that they haven't done enough on, but it actually shows that when you write music and listen to music, every part of your brain lights up. And there really isn't, and maybe I'm wrong and someone can, you know, correct me in the comments, but I haven't come across anything that actually will do that. The closest thing is actually like serve and return interactions with a parent and a child, and the way the brain lights up throughout that on both sides. That's probably the closest you're going to get in a lot of ways. But music is the only thing that will light up your entire freaking brain. Writing it or listening to it can actually, if you were to do like what are those tests called? I'm blanking, but it would like show that it would show that all areas of your brain light up. Like I've seen the research. It's honestly, I don't even know the word. Like it's incredible. But it's also not at the same time, because it's like, that like people heal through music, through writing it, through listening to it, through connecting, right? So my whole goal with music has never been to like make stuff that just sounds good and get it out and get famous. No, like my goal with music has been like, I want to make something that the medium is there and it's emotional, but the message drives it home. And I think that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it must be a powerful thing, though, to be on both sides of that. Obviously, I'm only a consumer when it comes to music. And so for me, like the experience is very much both of those things. I get to enjoy it. Sometimes people are so in tune with the music that they're making that the frequency actually is, you know, healing to some degree. but that's it. I get to celebrate with it, or I get to cry with it, or whatever. But to be on both ends of that, where you're like writing it and then also like allowing other people to experience that with you,
Yeah.
you know, like that's
No,
it's truly amazing. Yeah, you're
it's
not
a
wrong.
beautiful gift. Yeah, that connection to your own music and your own writing, but also the people you're writing music with in the band. And then, you know, because we're a team, we're like a family, and yeah, like sharing that together is an emotional thing. But then like when people send us messages after we've dropped it, and like that's why I put out that one reel, because I was very much like, we were hitting the heart. Like people are like, this made me, you know, reflect on this or feel like this or go back to this moment or realize this. And it was just like, damn, you know, like that's the whole reason we want to create this record. So I hope, fingers crossed, we continue to do this justice. I really do. And I think we are, but you know, that'll always come back with feedback. We're doing our best with it. That's what I can say. And we're trying to be as respectful and intentional as we can be.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing: mental health is obviously a massive topic, and you're right. We do have to be like sensitive, especially, you know, people really are out there struggling. I can speak on it. I can speak on it for Pinecase, and I can speak on it for myself. I can also speak on it in a broader way. I truly do believe that every time somebody's intention is to just achieve a little bit of humanity and to show people that they're not alone, then regardless of what happens after that, like they've already won. And so this little piece that you've given us, you know, this little gift, this little bit of like comfort, this little bit of home that you've offered us, this little bit of, you know, humility and humanity that you've offered us, it's connected all of us. Because not only does the song make us feel not alone, but then, you know, the other people in the comments, like, because obviously you guys as a band, you got to experience that, but me as a commenter also got to see that I wasn't alone in that feeling, right? I was like, oh, there is other people out there that not only had the same responses I did, but have obviously experienced something similar to what I've experienced. And so there was the music itself, but it's also, you know, these little pieces that happen as well. And it's really hard for me not to be emotional. And I'm like, I'm not going to cry during this episode. You know, I'm going to hold it together. Like, come on, it's metal music. It's, you know, it's all good. But there is just something about it that it just absolutely grounded me today. And yeah, there is definitely, whether, you know, the science behind it, we already know that there's proof in that. But like the feeling that I had playing it today was like almost a sense of relief. Like, you know, a sense of relief and community. And I was just like, okay, like there's other people that feel like this, you know, obviously. So thank you for that.
You know what? I just have to say, like, thanks for sharing that. I'm going to try not to cry during this too. But you said it so well, and I'm trying to find a way to rephrase it back. It's like, we didn't, Always Lost didn't actually create that connection. Right. What we did is we wrote a song that amplified and broke down walls of vulnerability for other people to realize that they aren't alone. And it's not that we did anything that said you're not alone. We just created a medium where people who felt like they were, now all of a sudden are connecting over this thing and they're not. And is there anything more that I would rather do with music? No. So.
Yeah. And, you know, it's interesting because I mentioned to you earlier today, I was like, the brand power that you guys have, even just with the color, like with the images, with the music matching all of that and the feeling that it portrays, like it all is so cohesive. And I don't want to be like it's cult, like, you know what I mean, because that's how much I actually appreciate it. Like I'm just like, this is really amazing. But it gives us all like it's that medium, it's that sense of belonging. There's a staple. I can hang my hat on All Was Lost because I know that these people, you know, feel the same way I do. And it's neat that it's not just the music, it's also the imagery and all the other little things that you guys piece together so well. And that I don't want to say it's got to be the guys, it's got to be the band, but obviously that is how it starts. When you have a foundation where you guys have come together for whatever reason, the crossroads met, and then we all get to experience that. Like, it's a really neat thing to be a bystander for. And I'm kind of curious because obviously you've gone through some changes over the years. All Was Lost has gone through some changes over the years, and we don't have to get into the details of that kind of stuff because there's it's not really anybody's business. But I am kind of curious to know, like, I don't even know how to ask this question without seeming like I'm like picking or whatever, but what is it? I don't want to say like what's happening next, but like, and what's going on, and what can we all anticipate? But what you can
anticipate is that when Cody joined the band, when Sean and Ryan were actually still a part of it, Cody joined the band. He joined very much like, been years since he'd been in one. He's always been an absolutely amazing musician and guitar player. But then, he and I feel like this is the best metaphor I can give. You know how, like, if you've ever wanted to be in a relationship with somebody, but that person's always in a relationship with somebody else.
Yep.
And you're always in a relationship with somebody else, and that time's never right for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So that was me and Cody in bands.
Okay.
And this time, it's like we're at that place in our life where it works. And it's brilliant. And I'm so glad he jumped on board, because also he used to work in bands with somebody named Terence, who's an absolutely phenomenal musician, amazing engineer, and the one who actually put together all the stems for Speaking in the Rain. Cody wrote it, but Terence is our engineer guy when it comes to instrumentals. I'm the engineer guy when it comes to vocals, and then we send it all off. But like Terence and Cody together writing that stuff, and it's funny because Terence can play anything, but he plays bass. And in a lot of bands, there's a joke, right? That like the bass player is, just the bass player, or we can MIDI the bass player, or this or that. But it's like our bass player is one of our most useful members of the entire band. Like without him, we would drown. So it's really, really, really funny. And then we have Nathan too on guitar, who like brings an element to the music. And all those guys writing together. And then we have AJ behind the drums, who's just like, I wish I could take my phone down right now to show you, as I'm sitting, AJ,
sorry,
on
AJ.
your drum kit. But because it didn't make sense to do this anywhere else, and he's got three. He's got a 3-piece, like right here. Mm-hmm. And he makes it sound like a 5-piece.
Absolutely, he does.
AJ doesn't even have a China. I've been bugging it about him forever, but he's got these like crash and ride cymbals and this hi-hat like anyone else, and double kicks. But there's no China over here for breakdowns. There's no extra tom over here, and it's like he still is like one of the best drummers in the city, and in what he does. Like, that's not me saying like skill-wise, like it's also me saying like what he brings and how he does it is very unique, and you can tell it's AJ drumming, and really, really cool. So like you put those four together, and then somebody who's just been trying to find the right people for a really long time to send powerful messages through meaningful music. Man. And that's what you got now. That's what you got in All Was Lost.
Man. Yes. Yes. It's like, it's so exciting to when that comes together, like when all of those things come together, like that's what's up. That's so exciting. And then you, like, can we talk about your stage presence? Because, and I think we maybe touched on it last time, and I hate to like, make you say the same thing twice, but can we talk about that? Because it is so unique. Like, in my opinion, maybe I'm not that versed. I've only been listening to Slipknot since I was like 12 or something like that. So I'm pretty like, Barbie metal, I guess. Like, it's not, not that into it. But like, there's something about you when you're up there that is really hard not to watch. Like, you're very interesting. Where does that come from? Where is that style coming from?
Hard for me to comment because I'm not sure what you're seeing. Right. I'm not sure what other people see. I can tell you what I try to bring to the stage.
Okay.
But when it comes to like what people see, or, you saying that's interesting, like my guess is, my best guess is probably going to be so far off from the truth of what it is you're actually seeing, because we all interpret things differently.
Right.
So I'd be curious to actually even put you on the spot. Like, what is it that you think that you see? And then I can tell you a bit about what I know I try to bring to the stage every single time I'm up there.
100%. I know exactly what I see. I see a whole bunch of crashing energy that is somehow pulled together in a super fluid way. And it is really cool to watch, because a lot of people jump up there and they're just like, and there's all this movement, and I get it, and I'm like, yeah, let's get this, but there's something that you do that kind of pulls it all together, and then it's just really, really fluid in what you're doing, which I can't imagine is that easy, because there's a lot of like really, really high kind of extreme moments that are happening. And so your body has to match that. Your energy has to match that. The music is wild. There's, you're doing all this stuff, but there's just something really fluid about the way that you package it.
I think there's a bunch of different elements to that. So the first one is that the music that I write and play, I actually like and feel. And I'm not just playing it, I'm feeling it as I'm playing it. So it's very easy to ride the wave of let's connect on this because I'm already connected to it. I actually get very nervous before shows.
Okay.
You'd never know.
No.
But I get jitters. Maybe not very nervous. I get nervous before every show. And what I do is I turn the nervous energy into stage energy. And I'll read the room, right? Like try and connect with the people in front of me. So to me, a show isn't a performance, it's an experience, and it's about the connection with the crowd. It's about us getting our chance to play this music and connect. And so I spend a lot of time intentionally on stage trying to reach people and let people know that this band is nothing without them, because it isn't, and that we're a community, not just 5 people standing on stage. And I try to set that tone, and then I think through that and the movement, we can usually get people moving within like the first or second song, and I think that a lot of that is maybe because of that. Like I've often wondered, I don't know if people want to like give their thoughts in the comments. I don't know if who all's in this right now. I can't actually see a comment section or how many people are tuned in, but if people want to like share their thoughts of what that is, I'd be very thankful, because I only have guesses, but I can tell you a little bit about where the rhythm comes from. So the like very fluid kind of stage stomping and spinning and even two-stepping and movement in general. I did breakdancing and hip-hop competitively for 3 years.
Oh shit, really? Heard my language. I didn't know that. Okay.
So I feel like I brought some of that to the stage as well. You just wouldn't know, because it's that rhythm comes very natural to me. So once I am comfortable with the song I'm singing and I'm feeling it and I feel connected to the crowd, the movement just is like, it's like muscle memory sometimes.
Dang. Okay, so you're pulling from a whole bunch of different places. That's really cool to know. And I think that goes, like, shout out to whoever put you into all of that. Like, because I think we forget that sometimes. Like, some of the best hockey players also did figure skating and ballet or whatever, right? I always hear these things and I'm like, wait, what? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you use all of that to put into what you're doing now? So that's kind of neat.
I have a very hilarious picture upstairs. I'm not going to leave this to go get it, but picture like 12-year-old me in like an all Celtic uniform, like green. Yeah. Oh yeah. And like bleach blonde hair, like Eminem wannabe. And I'm like, there's like a picture of me doing like a handstand and like holding my foot in the air at that age. It's like sitting in my bedroom still. Cause that's who I was back then. That's who I was in junior high. I listened to Linkin Park and stuff like that, but I absolutely loved Eminem. And even a lot of, and I know every word to 8 Mile, honestly, it's embarrassing. Don't watch 8 Mile with me. But I think too, like, even Taryn, our bass player, an engineer and member of our band, said to me recently, he's like, I like the way you write lyrics. It's like, it could almost be a rap song, the way you write lyrics. And it's like, yeah, I feel like maybe that influence comes from some of that I really did like rap and still do like some rap, but I always liked the rap where they had something to say.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why I stuck to Eminem so heavily, is like, he always had something to say. Meaningful. Well, not always meaningful, but lots of his songs were, He was
very good at the art of storytelling, and even the things that we don't necessarily think are that meaningful, like, so say like the Slim Shady. Yeah, we'll go with just like that persona even. Although there's not really much being said other than like a bunch of stuff that we're just like, yeah, sure, that's kind of funny. There's still like a through path. Like there's still a storyline to it. And so he's definitely got it dialed in. And now that I know that about you, it actually makes a lot more sense, because there's definitely a through line to all of the things that I've seen
Yeah.
It's not, you guys are definitely not just making noise. But hold on a second here. So how did you go from like that into this? Like, where was that? When did that happen?
That's the story. Yeah, so like I in junior high was in the group of popular kids, but I wasn't one of the popular kids. So I was one of the kids in the popular group that the popular kids kept around to make fun of.
Okay.
Yeah, like, oh, there's Terence doing his dancing again.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
a word that rhymes with digger and starts with W,
Totally.
you know,
Yep.
like all that kind of stuff, right? And just I wasn't the guy who ever got the girls in school. Like that was my popular friends, my jock friends, my hockey friends, blah blah blah, who weren't really friends, right? Like realistically, like early on in my life, actually, like me and my twin brother have our own story, and our family has our own story, and my parents are, you know, very different people now than when we were growing up, and no one's perfect as a parent either, so that's not like a shot at them. My mom's a saint, my dad's an awesome person, and
Yep.
I can say though we had trauma, we had childhood trauma, lots of it. And I learned very early on that if I expressed who I was or what I cared about or what I really felt, I could risk going to a group home like my brother. And so I really did learn to just be silent and a peacekeeper in my household. And then also I think in my friendships, I learned to just shove it down, you know? Which I've now turned into like more of a compartmentalization skill, and I process shit later. But like at one point I was just really good at not being there for myself. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah, I do.
music, I think I found that in dance. I think I found my ability to kind of be me still in dance and be vulnerable without having to like tackle all the things like the comments that people said to me and my friends. Like I was a coward and I knew it, you know. I remember I actually wrote a speech in grades 8 or 9, and I spoke about it in front of the whole school. It was one of the ones that got picked, and I actually spoke about it in front of the whole school.
Wow.
And that's when I actually lost a bit of my jock friends. It was around suicide.
Yeah.
And I can't remember all of it, but the first line was something about imagine, you know, standing at the edge of a cliff, like waiting to take your life or something like that. And I wrote it in like grade 8. And that's how I really felt. Like I always felt like that stuff mattered. I just didn't have a friend group where I could talk about that with, right?
Yeah.
I ended up finding a friend in someone named Sam Erickson, who was in my Japanese class at the time, and he listened to like My Chemical Romance and The Used. And around the time that I kind of shared this poem with the school, I actually went out drinking, you know, with some of my friends.
Yeah.
They left me on like a Prius doorstep, like just absolutely hammered. They had stolen all my shit. I had like thrown up into a pizza box basically. This priest left like a Bible on my like side of my
Oh my God.
bed. For a while I tried to, you know, find the light a little bit, because I was like, oh, someone tried to help me, you know, I've never
Right.
really received this compassion from another person. Like these are what my friends are like, you know. So long story short, like Sam actually became one of my best friends, actually my best friend for many years. And that's kind of how emo started for me. It wasn't like I'm just gonna engage in this culture because it's cool and hip. It was like, no, I genuinely had no idea who I was. I had an identity crisis. I hadn't spent time getting to know myself at all. I was always trying to be the person people wanted me to be. It left me with a slew of issues that led to like drug use and dropping out of school, and like just like a lot of stuff in my teenage years, you know. And so yeah, the culture, I'll be honest, you know, cutting your wrists was like an emo thing, but it was also
Yeah.
something that I used as an emo thing to be able to say like, I get to do this to myself. Like
Right.
that's the place that I was in, you know. I tried to kill myself a couple of times when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that whole emo culture is something I came by very honestly. And I had, you know, I was in Spruce Grove, so there wasn't many of us. It was like me and Sam only for a while, and then there was like a few other people that we were like in a group with. We were all like the emo kids in Spruce Grove. And then yeah, you bet your whatever, there was all my friends who were like before popular and jocks who were like, oh, Terrence is a this now or that
Yeah.
now, you know.
Yeah.
Words I won't say on this podcast, but it's just like, just because I would like wear black jeans and makeup, or you know, dye my hair nicer than theirs. But anyways, long story short, like I came by that very honestly, that and that's how I kind of got into this. So I started with bands like The Used, My Chemical Romance, Scary Kids Scaring Kids, Drop Dead Gorgeous, Under Oath, Silverstein, Rise Against, bands like that, Cross Five Aprils. And then that built into heavier bands like my favorite one at the time. And if we were talking about their old music, still my favorite one, Parkway Drive, August Burns Red, you know, bands like As I Lay Dying, Bullet for My Valentine. And it just snowballed from there.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to seriously, thank you so much for sharing that. I was having flashbacks to grade 6 when I decided that during like whatever it was, the like reading circle or whatever, when we all like share a insert or a small story or a poem or whatever. I decided to read like out of Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul. There's like this whole chapter called Tough Stuff, and there's this one poem that was like about a girl who like gets killed in a drinking and driving thing, and it was like the only thing in that book the only book I owned that I could like kind of relate to, because like my life was totally chaotic, and I'm sure we probably navigated some of the similar things, it kind of sounds like. So but I remember standing up in front of the class and reading it, and like they were like calling me like a witch, like all of a sudden I must like practice witchcraft or something, like it must just be like, you know, whatever. And it went on, and it was just like that feeling of being like, what the heck, like how does nobody else understand what I'm trying to say? Like, how does nobody else feel like this? And so I appreciate you telling that story, because I definitely was that kid, and I totally understand what that feels like. And to be like trying to impress people, and not even just like trying to find an identity that other people can find palatable enough to tolerate, basically. And then trying to like, you know, express myself a little bit, and then that just going so left so hard so fast that I was just like, well, fuck, I guess I'm over here. Perma language, I'm over here now. Like, you know, there was no going back to whatever was before that poem, because they just basically stripped me of anything that I thought that I was. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh shit, okay. And so yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I completely, yeah.
I'm sorry you experienced that. It's like all the things that actually make us human and vulnerable, we're taught so early on not even to really do, like in different ways, right? Like women are taught it in one way, men are taught it in another. But like, long story short, I was always, I wanted an Oopsie Daisy doll in grade 6, I'm pretty sure. I like wore a dress to show and tell once. Like, I've never been a traditional man, so to speak, but that's always kind of displaced me in groups with like typical, more like jock men type people. Like when I was in junior high and in that friend group, those guys used to make fun of so many people, and some of the things they had this game where they would go around and like slap girls' asses with like textbooks and like keep track of how many they could do in a day. Like when I look back at that, I'm just like, what the actual, you know? And I'm being very careful not to swear on this. I've wanted to a few times. But like the other thing, there was people who my friends would make fun of, and I would be there and I would be watching them like tear these people down. And I was the person who would like write notes to those people after and be like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm too much of a coward to do anything about this, but I really, really wish that they would stop. And I'm so sorry for any pain that we're causing you. Like I would write like letters like that. And sometimes, you know, people would come up to me. There was one girl in particular who came up to me and she's like, thanks for writing this. You know, I always felt like you weren't one of them. But it also doesn't make what they do to me any better. Right. So I lived in this weird place of like, am I justifying this by being a part of it because I'm too much of a coward to stand up against it? But then again, what does it look like if I don't have these friends?
Right.
You know, so that's where I sat in junior high. And then, yeah, high school was just a slew of like identity crisis after identity crisis, you know, drug use, dropping out of school, everything under the sun. And then, you know, later in life, I learned the very difficult thing and most important thing I've ever learned, which is how to love myself, appreciate myself, be the adult to my child. And now I just kind of authentically live as me, and I don't really care if you don't like it in a lot of ways. Like, unless you're really close to me, like if you're a friend or somebody who I thought was like a really close friend to me, that'll hurt, right? Then I'll be like, damn. You know, like I do care what you think. I care what my partner, I care what my mom thinks. I care what my kids think. But like, I don't really care if I once walked to Home Depot with my partner in a like house coat and slippers, and I think it was like some form of really weird fleece pajamas, and like I just looked ridiculous. I don't care. I was just walking through Home Depot looking for screws. You know, like one person came up to me once at a show and they were like, how do you just be you all the time? Like I feel like I know you so well because you just are always the same person. And I just have to say, like, living authentically is hard to do because it involves a large amount of vulnerability, but I would never go back to living a life where I had to hide pieces of who I was, because that's not living.
No, yeah, amen to all of that, honestly. I remember, like, yeah, there's so many people out there that can't be like that. And I use the term a lot, like, I don't care. I don't care. And people get offended by it. And I'm like, no. Like, that's the all that is good in the world. Like, when we all just don't care, like, that's when everyone else gets to not give a shit either. Like, that's when everybody else gets to really celebrate themselves, because it's the people that care too much or make it about themselves that takes away from us just like trying to live our life. And so I think, honestly, like, more people need to focus on that little piece of paradise between like, not acknowledging anything and caring too much, is that little strip of just like, nah, man, who gives a shit? Like, who gives
And
a shit?
then being in a band and being in the music community, like, I'm very hyper aware too, that there are like groups of people in particular who aren't as welcomed or are still discriminated against because it's still Western society, right?
Yeah.
Like, most of music is still white men playing it. Like, it really is. Like, don't get me wrong, it is diversifying. I am not trying to like crap on the efforts of everybody who is contributing to that. But to say that women and people of color and lots of people in the LGBTQ2S community feel less comfortable probably at shows than a white man is probably accurate for most people. And I'm not trying to speak for people. What I'm saying is I've heard this through experiences of other people a lot in the music community. And that's because we still have work to do.
Yes.
Right? Like, women shouldn't feel unsafe at shows because they're worried they're going to get groped in the crowd. Nobody should feel weird about using a bathroom at a venue because there isn't a gender neutral one available for them. Shout out to Starlight Room. Yeah, like, there's a lot of work that we can still do. And that's why I think it was last year around Decimate time, there was some bills being passed for, SGD youth, like sexual and gender diverse youth. And I remember making a post and actually like doing an entire logo with like the colors of different like non-binary and trans, and because it's like, as a band I want people to know that like our shows are safe for you. I can't guarantee that they're safe because of everyone who's in the room, and that sucks. But I will do everything I can while I'm on that stage to make sure that it is as safe as it can possibly be for everybody. And that sometimes means I'm doing advocacy on stage or doing advocacy in lyrics or Facebook posts. And, not everybody likes that. So there are a lot of people who probably don't like me. But I also am okay not being liked for the right reasons.
Listen, yeah, exactly. Like, if people don't want to like you because of all of that, like, then you don't need those people in your life. And I think the other thing too that's really important to be said is, like, although we can't control the people in the room, everybody, you can also be like, just the fact that you're willing to change your band's logo with different colors, and it just shows that at least people can feel like they can speak up. Obviously, I deal with it all the time. I wish I could save everybody. I can't, but what I can do is advocate for the people that are there in that situation. And God forbid, I hate even using that term, but like, something happens, at least that I'm a safe place to bring that information to, which is extremely important, because you can't change other people, unfortunately, but we can definitely create safe spaces for people to deal with the fallout of some of these things. So good for you for being that human being. And also, like, the thing is I appreciate all the advocacy work that's being done. It'll be nice when people don't have to look for signs and symbols anymore.
Yeah. But that, you're talking about a world where everybody is not just tolerant, but like appreciative of diversity. right? Like acceptance and tolerance isn't enough. That's where we can start. But appreciating the diversity in people around you and how that makes the world an even more beautiful place, and stepping off of this need to know exactly how everybody should be from the minute they're born or not. We've got a lot of work to do. But if we could all be in a place where we just genuinely accepted everybody in the room, we wouldn't need symbols. We have labels, we have symbols because people need a way to identify outside of the regular way that they're supposed to. Right? That's why we have symbols and labels. It's an advocacy piece because we're not there as a world. We're not there as a society.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. And even when you were talking about like, you know, things that you would do as a kid that might be like out of the norm of being a man, I was thinking about that. I'm just like, why do those things even like, it's weird that we even associate those things with like abnormal behavior. And, you know, it's strange to me. Like, I mean, I'm a mom, that's no secret to anybody. And I can't even imagine like my child trying to navigate that thought of like what is acceptable and what's not, regardless of what it is. Like, how dare anybody make anybody feel that way? I think, you know, you're right. Men and women both have it different. We both cope differently. We both have different expectations, and that's just how it's been. Hopefully that changes. But I advocate strongly for men specifically because men generally or historically have been told to suck it up, deal with it, that they're not allowed to cry. And, you know, I can't say that women have more resources, although there is a bigger platform for women to go to. And so I think it's extremely important when, you know, and I say the dudes, because I don't mean biological men. I just mean dudes, like,
yeah, just dudes. Yeah.
Just dudes. Like, I don't really care how you get there, but like, you know, just the dudes or whatever. And because it's, you know, it's so important that people speak up for that. It's really empowering just to have you on here, just to say those things and to just be like, listen, like, these are things that we can absolutely change. Like, these are things that we can absolutely take control of and fix. These aren't even like wild fixes. Like, all we got to do is open the doors a little bit and just be a little bit understanding. It's a powerful thing. So I appreciate you saying all of that.
When I first left music to go get my career and then came back to music after, I became a social worker. I think there was four men, 4 dudes in an entire cohort of 86 students starting when I first started social work.
Isn't that
so
wild?
That should speak volumes, right? And it does. When even working in this field, like the majority of people working in a field that have to do with emotions are female. It's getting better. You know, even helping, even child rearing, like nursing or childcare, like that's primarily still female, right? But here's the thing I'm going to say. I'm a feminist. I really am. But I believe feminism as a definition is the equality between genders.
Yeah.
So that does mean that from an equitable stance, men do have to let go of some privilege, right? But what it can't mean is that men become the bad guy, have to be sabotaged, and have to be attacked. Because now you're taking one of the bigger things that's the problem, which is that men always have to feel on defense, like they have to attack, like they have to be this way. And now you're responding to them in a way that causes them to get even more violent and angry and upset and shut down. I'm sorry, that's not feminism.
Thank you.
War. That's war.
Oh my God. Thank you.
War on both sides.
Yeah.
Men saying that women are the problem because all they do is bash men. Like, women have every right to be upset for a lot of reasons, right? Like, the glass ceiling is a real thing. So is like the fact that most sexual assaults in the world happen from a guy to a girl. That's just facts, right?
Right.
And most women, I think, I can't remember the statistic, but like most women will have had some sort of sexual experience where they did not fully consent and or did something because they felt like the consequence of it would be worse if they didn't. Like, these are problems. These are very real problems that women face, right? But men have them too. Yes. And the thing is that men don't have a platform a lot of times to talk about them, because when they do start to get vulnerable about them, they get the shit kicked out of them. They get beat up by their friends and left with puke in a pizza box by their head, like in a Bible at, grade 8. They grow up feeling like they can't, I'm getting personal with this, but like that was me, right? And I found a way, I think, to through my friends and family and community and my own personal growth, walk authentically. And it very much is that I am a very emotional person. I'm a very emotionally in tune person as well. I'm a freaking empath. I know that through and through. I've heard enough people tell me it to know that it's true. I'm not meant to do construction or build walls. And some men really are amazing at that, or mechanic. Like, we shouldn't crap on men who want to do trades either. Like, those are amazing skills.
Yeah.
But that's not my skill set. My skill set is like getting to the heart and soul of what is meaningful to people and helping them in moments of darkness and light. Like, that's why I'm a social worker. That's also why I'm a musician. But so much of that and what I do as a vocalist, society isn't always telling men they can do it.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? It's so I talk about this a lot. I talk about it all the time, and I'm like, can we please just start, like, if we need to, if we need to like categorize people into things, can we just talk about the difference of people being emotional and rational? And neither of those are positive or negative. It's just the way that people are, right? So we've historically kind of looked at men being more rational and women being more emotional, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're stuck to those things. And there is very much a ton of ways. Like, I personally, and this is a bit personal, but I'm just using it as an example. Like, I personally appreciate the way men child rear. I do think that there's a place for an emotional space, especially at the beginning, but there's something very structured and disciplined about the way a man just naturally parents a child. And I really appreciate that part of it, more so than maybe what I think the benefits are of somebody who's over emotional and maybe places too much of that on their children. And so with that just being one example, I do think that it's a time to like come and start appreciating people for what you are capable of as an individual, and then place that personality into whatever part of the economy that fits. And I use the word economy only because obviously we're out here generating money and yada yada yada, but I think that that's a more appropriate way to look at things and stop worrying about what it's supposed to be, and just really start utilizing people for what they're capable of, and honoring that and highlighting that. And like, I just think that we would have a better world. And I'm looking at that obviously just from a mother's standpoint, but like, bring that part on,
I want to do an experiment with you really quick. We're almost at the end of this. I want you to close your eyes for a second. Okay. Picture that you live in a world where everybody is allowed to be themselves, but not only allowed to be themselves, what matters most about who they are is what authentically makes them them and their strengths. And that is how they find their place in the world, regardless of gender. That's where they find their role, where they find their job, where they find their purpose. Now imagine that nobody uses their own strengths and purpose to belittle somebody else's. Open your eyes. It's that simple, but we're just not there.
Yeah.
Like, when you imagine that, how'd that feel?
I was just thinking, like, everyone just intention first. Like, that's all that is. It's just intention forward. That's all.
And it's not rocket science.
No.
Do you know what so much of my job is as like what I do in my work? My job is to help people realize that behavior is a function of human emotion and that we're all human beings. That is my job. And I like it does come with a lot of empathy and a lot of like, education and stuff. But like at the ground level of it, it is to remind people that even people who are difficult to deal with or have behaviors we don't always understand or presentations we don't always understand are human, just like we are all human. And that's essentially what I just asked you to picture, was a world where everybody got to be human in every aspect of the word, not put in boxes, and where they gave people freedom to be human as well and celebrated their differences.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be rocket science, but because of the way the world has been for so long, the structures around us have been in place for so long, it isn't easy to break that mold. Not in a big way, not in a universal change kind of way. Individual levels, community levels, sure. And I think the metalcore community, hardcore communities, like, I think music communities are a lot further along with that stuff than some other communities for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've kind of been going on a tangent here, but this is stuff I really care about, so.
No, I think it's all beautiful. And I think it's really important to actually speak to, not only just the people that have graciously joined us and donated their time to supporting us over at Pinecase tonight, much like yourself. So thank you everybody that's in the comment section, but also you know, the music community, specifically the artists, like all have an opportunity to, you know, you guys got microphones, you guys got speakers, you guys have all of these right? You have these
Could have been
tools.
speaking into this the whole time. AJ's microphone on his drum kit.
You're out of control. Oh my gosh. See, right? And like, it's, you guys have these tools and instruments that absolutely go a little bit further than maybe some of us just on the street. So I think it's an absolute, you know, war cry. If we had to have one, it's time. It's like, let's take advantage of the things that we have and the spaces and the platforms that we have to say these things and to make those just absolutely the standard. Like, it's just the standard. It's weird if you don't. It's weird if you don't love each other.
Let's talk about the real stuff. Let's laugh together. Let's cry together. Let's feel all the emotions on the spectrum, not just the ones that people have told you you're allowed to. And then on top of that, like, let's also laugh about the hard shit. Because the amount of people who I know who have been through like mind-numbing trauma, like trauma that, like, the world that I've seen a lot in my work is one that gets pushed aside, that lots of people don't ever see. And you know what one common thing for a lot of people with trauma is? Humor. If you can talk about the hard shit while also laughing about it, that is healing. And that's what a lot of like trauma therapy is too, like going back in a safer place and talking about the hard shit. Like, laughing helps to create a safer place if you do it sensitively. You don't just make jokes at someone's trauma and laugh at them. It's very important that like people get to joke about their own experiences though without being judged, you know, because that is very much like a trauma response that a lot of people have. It's a trauma response I have. Like, even sitting here, we're talking like about all this stuff, and I was like, microphone, like, just add a little humor into the situation, you know?
Totally. That's awesome. No, it's true, and it's definitely something that we need to utilize more. You know, I had a very smart person come to me one time at a very really dark moment when we couldn't get an excavator over to a graveyard, and I don't know if you can imagine trying to hand dig a grave nowadays, but the graveyard was very close to the beach, so it was a lot of sand, and it's raining. So we're in like a, you know, like an actual rainforest on the coast, and it was like out of control. But all we could do was just laugh so hard because, like, how in, you know, 2000 and whatever, 2000 and Jesus, I can't even think of these numbers right now. But like, do we not have a piece of equipment to be able to do this? And we're like laughing and laughing and laughing. Meanwhile, you know, obviously there's some serious things happening, but it's okay. It's seriously okay to laugh at those things. It's okay to laugh at each other a little bit and to talk about these things, because how else are we going to get through them if not leaning on each other and supporting each other through it? Honestly, you guys, that's all we have, man. Like, we
have each other. And if it makes sense to laugh about something in a moment with your friend because it makes you feel better, there shouldn't be any shame in that, as long as you're not laughing at somebody else. Here's my thing. Everybody should get to exist as they are, so long as your existence doesn't limit somebody else's right and ability to exist as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because the argument a lot of times is like, oh, you're infringing on my free speech. Oh, this is my right to be able to say these things. Like, yeah, you have free speech, but what you're saying is harmful and it's harming other people. And that's where we should be drawing the line. Everybody should be able to exist safely within our world together.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I think a lot of people who are like, oh, you're a hypocrite, don't get is it's like, no one's telling you that you don't have a right to free speech. What we're saying is that you're using your right to free speech to inflict harm.
Yeah. I just keep saying, I'm like, yes, absolutely. Everything that and like, what's wild is like, how are we not aware that you guys know how it feels when somebody does that to you? So stop doing it to other people. And obviously we don't really need to speak to this particular crowd of people because everybody out here is cool. We got a really great group around us, you know, and near us. But that doesn't mean that we can't like remind each other and everybody else. Like, it's time to just like knock that shit off. Perma language, like knock it off, you know?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. How long do you have on here? Are we at a time frame at some point? I'm just mindful of like, we're at an hour, hey?
So we always wrap it up at an hour. Okay. I am going to quickly throw that song up if you don't mind, just so everyone has a little taste of like what we were talking about tonight, if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
And then we'll get out of here. Okay. Let's see. This might be interesting. Always new things. Every time it's got to be something new because I haven't tried this before, but I think it'll be fun. Let's see.
Figure it out together.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I that song, man. Like,
Yeah. I'm really glad it hits, honestly. It's I'm really glad too, Nicole, like my partner like did the female vocals at the end, and I really wanted to capture in the first chorus is like that I hear you speaking in the rain, but then like in the third one have you speaking back and have it like a noticeable different voice, you know, speaking back from the grave. Like I feel like that was really important to the imagery in the song. Yeah.
you guys nailed it. Like, you know what? I was like rocking out, and then I just get taken into it. Like, there. I wish I could be more articulate, but it's just it's just that good. It actually does that to me. Like, you know, I'm pretty good with my words, but I honestly appreciate it that much. Thank you so much, seriously, from the mental health community. Thank you so much, just on a personal level, for you guys putting that together and for taking something so personal and sharing it with us, because it really does do that. Like,
I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I actually, like, there's one kind of message in this record, right? And you said it, like, early on, like, we're not alone, no one's alone. Like, we're all in this together if we allow ourselves to be. And maybe if the world was more like that, you know, Levi wouldn't have felt like he had to have been so alone. Which is where I'm gonna, like, leave it.
Absolutely.
I chose to wear this shirt today for a reason. But hold up. Oh, where is it? I can't get it to
other side. And not alone. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate your time. We take it nothing less than a massive donation to our cause. So thank you so much, you guys that are in the comments and hanging out with us. Thank you so much. You guys take care of each other. Look out for each other. The suicide national hotline is #988. So you guys can go ahead and slip that into your back pocket for whenever you need it. It's #988. For the old folks, that's #988. And we do have the Pinecase warm line that's open 24/7. And that's just if you guys just need someone to chat to, maybe you just had a bad day at work or whatever, you guys can go ahead and hit us up at 250-289-3948. Please don't hesitate ever. Like you said, we're not alone. You're not alone. We aren't alone in this. So thank you so much again for hanging out with us tonight. We will. I
just read the chat to you guys. Thank you all for checking it out. Thanks for sticking around. Yeah, we love all of you. Support your friends, support your family, support your music community, support healing in whatever way makes sense for you. And above all, support yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you guys take care. We'll see you next Tuesday.
We stay strong. We stay
The
strong.
further you take my rights away, I'ma run to it. Refuse to hear my voice. Speak loud when I spit it, but you don't get it. You just wanna be a side critic. See somebody else showing hate in the side of the road with it. Now how would you feel standing on the sideline and watch the color of a nation deteriorate over time? The flag real high, but compassion 6 feet below. Now you're searching for that justice that decided to never show. Deny my place, I'm back with a trace. Keep up the pace, tight lace, game face, get back in the race. Whatever they did could never be undone. Every dark night ends with the rising of the sun. Squandered every wealth that's built from the mud. Squandered every wealth that's built from the blood. Squandered every wealth that's built in chains. Stolen from the ancestors,
With
running
the
through my
strength
veins.
of 1,000 lion and the strength of 1,000 giant, we stay strong. We stay strong. With the strength of 1,000 elephant and the strength of 1,000 tiger, we stay strong. We stay strong. We stay strong.
I can see, run to the light at the end of the tunnel winner.
We stay strong.
I can't breathe, we're gonna get oxygen without the justice system.
We stay strong.
And I know, gotta keep my head together.
We stay strong.
Don't doubt me, please don't doubt me.
We stay strong.
Tell me how can we be strong if we still shooting? Tell me how can we be strong if we still looting? Tell me how can we be strong if we still hating? Please tell me now, please.